Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today we are going to be talking about NebulaFlex and our hybrid access points. So just a little housekeeping here at the beginning. If you have questions as we go through, in WebEx there is a Q&A box. Go ahead and use the Q&A box and submit your questions there. At the end I will take a look at those questions and do my best to answer them for you. Before we get into NebulaFlex, there's just a little bit of stuff here I want to touch for those of you who may be joining us for the first time. So we'll start with just a very brief bit about who is Zyxel. Zyxel has been around now for about 29 years making networking products. We started off in the analog modem days, moved from analog modems to ISDN to DSL to cable modems at one point. And then in the early 2000s we had a full lineup of switches, firewall products, some of the earliest Wi-Fi stuff out there. We've currently got over 100 million devices that have been deployed globally. We have 1,500 employees, and we're serving or selling our products in 150 different markets. So most of our products are going to be split into three categories. Our products that are designed for the telco and service provider. This can be CPE devices like an ADSL modem, but this also includes stuff like IP DSLAMs and metro area switches, stuff that would generally go into a data center or a place like that. Our business products, which is probably what you're most interested in, that includes switches, firewalls, access points, and other similar type products, and then our consumer products. Okay, so we're going to move from that and talk a little bit about just what Nebula is for anybody here who's joining us who hasn't been to one of our other Nebula webinars. This is just going to be a few slides to lightly cover what Nebula is and what it does. So Nebula was a line of products, or is a line of products, that are designed for cloud management. So for those that aren't too familiar with cloud management, it's similar to Meraki. Management of the hardware is done entirely through the cloud. So to manage things, you don't log directly into the device itself. The device reaches out to the cloud. You log into the cloud through a dedicated portal, and you're able to then manage your devices. So Nebula consists of a couple different components here. We have Nebula Control Center, which is our website. It is hosted on Amazon AWS. So it's got the reliability that AWS provides and gives us essentially unlimited scalability. We had our cloud access points, the NAP or NAP series, a series of cloud switches, the NSW series, cloud security gateway, the NSG, and then our mobile app, which is primarily designed not for managing the networks, but for being able to be used by installers on site to easily scan in new devices and assign them to your customer locations, add them to a map, etc. So some of the goals of putting stuff in the cloud is to simplify the installation process dramatically. There's generally going to be no local customization or configuration required of the devices. You simply plug them in, and as long as they've got access to a DHCP server and an internet connection, there's really nothing else your installers need to do. So it speeds up the installation process and allows you to use people, including maybe the customers themselves, who aren't that technology literate. They just need to be able to plug them into the Ethernet cables and mount them where they're going to go. We give you access anywhere, anytime to your networks or your customers' networks through the Nebula Control Center. Everything is accessed really easily through there. So in general, the Nebula setup process is a three-step process. Plug in the device, log into Nebula and register the devices. You can do that manually through a web browser. You can use the app and scan the QR code that you can find either on the device or the box for the device, and then you do your configuration. You can clone configurations from other sites or other customers who have similar setups and then just need to modify the things that are a little bit different. These 3 steps can be done in any order, giving you a lot of flexibility to your workflow when you're setting up new networks for your customers. So just some brief highlights here. Nebula Control Center was designed from the ground up to make it easy for you to manage multiple customers and then multiple sites under the customers. So you can see here when you log in, you get a list of all of your customers and a brief snapshot of what's going on in terms of their license status, how many sites they have, what's going on with their devices. And then when you drill down and choose one, you get a breakdown of all the sites under that customer. We have a Google Maps integration, so you can position your different sites globally on a map to make it easier to visualize where each location is. And then again, you get a snapshot broken down for each site under that customer, giving you an idea of what's going on. Once you choose a site, you get taken to our dashboard, which gives you a nice, simple, easy way to see what's going on the network, from what type of applications are eating your bandwidth, to which users are eating your bandwidth, to what your PoE power budget is versus what's actually being consumed. And then from here you go in and do your configuration, whether it be access point, switch, or gateway, using the pull-down menus there on the top. We've got a number of different reports for the switches, for access points, and just in general site-wide that you can use to see what's been going on. Depending on which version of Nebula you're using, you can have anywhere up to a year's worth of log information recorded for you to go through and review at a later date. We can also set this up to do emails to yourself or emails to your customer and add your logo to those emails so you can give them periodic updates on what's going on their network. Okay, so that's it as far as Nebula. So now we'll move on to the new stuff. What is NebulaFlex? So NebulaFlex is the term we're using. We're also using the term hybrid access point. So what we've done is we've taken our NWA1123 series, the series of access points that are traditionally considered a standalone access point, and we most often come up against a ubiquity in this space as far as the competition goes. So we've now given you the flexibility to be able to take those access points and by upgrading them to the latest firmware, you can decide to either manage them how we've traditionally done it, using the standalone GUI or using one of our free software tools, such as Zone, to manage them, or you can switch them over at no charge to use the free Nebula Cloud service. So NebulaFlex gives you the ability to very simply and very quickly switch these devices between standard management mode and cloud management mode. So when you switch them over to cloud mode, it goes over to our Nebula free service, giving you access to most of the Nebula features. Setting it up and configuring them is very, very simple. There's nothing to switch it over to Nebula mode, there's nothing manual you need to do. You don't need to go in and point them to a cloud controller or anything like that. You simply log in to nebula.zyxel.com with your current account, set up a customer, and then assign the access point to that customer. The access point will, on boot up, we'll see that it's been assigned to a Nebula customer and will automatically boot into Nebula Manage mode. Later, if you decide that you don't want to use the Nebula management, it's really easy to switch back to standalone mode. All you have to do is, again, log into nebula.zyxel.com, remove the device from your customer, and then the access point will automatically reboot and switch back to standalone mode. And you can switch back and forth realistically as many times as you want, as flexibility as you want. So, if you're going from taking hardware and moving it from one customer to another customer, no problem, you can do that. If you just want to play around with some of the different options between standalone and Nebula, it's really easy to switch back and forth between them. So we're calling the access points that have this NebulaFlex technology, we're calling them hybrid APs. So what are the benefits of going with a hybrid AP? You've got real big flexibility here on management, whether you want to do them in the standard GUI type management or whether you want to use the cloud. The Nebula Cloud service is free for the life of the product, so there's no additional cost or licenses, nor is there any really additional configuration that you need to do to use the cloud. It just gives you that flexibility to help future-proof the hardware and maybe keep the hardware going. So if you have a customer who's upgraded and moved on to newer technology, you can take that same hardware and reuse it at another customer as a cost savings to you. So right now we do have some flexible or promotion going on. So if you sign up, or excuse me, let me rephrase it. If you register an NWA1100 series device with Nebula, you'll automatically get 3 free months of our professional pack, which is the paid version of Nebula. So you have until April 30th. You can register any NWA1123 in Nebula Cloud, and then you'll get this. So it can be new hardware that you just buy today. It can be hardware you already have purchased and is already deployed out in the field. It doesn't matter. As long as you register it into the cloud before April 30th, you get 3 months of the free professional pack. So the models that are included currently are these 3 access points here are NWA1123 ACV2. So that's our 11AC 2x2 access point. Our NWA1123 AC Pro, which is our 3x3 that's got that dual configurable antenna, so you can switch the antenna pattern based on whether you want it to be an omnidirectional ceiling mount or more of a directional wall mount antenna pattern. And then our NWA1123 AC HD, which is our AC Wave 2, which offers 3x3 Wave 2 performance on the AC radio and 2x2 on the 2.4 GHz 11N radio. And then coming up here a little bit later this year, we will have NWA 1300 series access point. I believe the actual model number is going to be the NWA 1302. And it's going to offer the wall mount hospitality type form factor with PoE pass-through for hospitality installs, allowing you to use those in the Nebula Cloud. So that's it as far as the hardware goes. NebulaFlex technology, some point later this year, will also be coming to our switches. So we'll have certain models of switches that you'll be able to use either with the current management mode or be able to upgrade or switch those into the Nebula Cloud. So when it comes to the licensing, we've got 2 versions of Nebula. We've got the license-free Nebula, which is what you get with NebulaFlex when you switch them over to Nebula, and then we've got our professional pack. So if you've bought our NAP series access points or NSW series switches or our NSG series gateway products, professional pack is the more powerful service that we offer that you get 1 year of free when you purchase those products. So if you've already deployed and been using Nebula, you've been using our professional pack. So we'll break down here some of the differences between the two. Regardless of whether you're using the free Nebula or whether you're using professional pack, you get the zero-touch auto deployment. You get access to our web app for installations and assigning hardware. You get automatic updates, firmware updates, feature updates that are pushed out through the Nebula Cloud. You get our management, the ability to configure those devices through the cloud. You get the cloud dashboard. Where we start to see some differences here is when it comes to the logging and historical information. With the free Nebula, you get 7 days of historical information. With Professional Pack, you get a full year of historical information. Both versions, though, still get the location map and floor plan, so that Google Maps integration or the ability to import a floor plan and drag the devices where you want them. You get the cloud reports. What we see another change here, the Professional Pack gets you the ability to email those reports automatically to your customers, the ability to add your own logo to them. You do not get that with the free version. Both still get access to doing, radius authentication, MAC filtering, and Facebook login for the captive portal. So now where we see some more of the differences here is going to be when it comes to the built-in cloud authentication database. So this could be a MAC address filter list. This could be cloud-stored usernames and passwords. The cloud management portion with the free version only gets you 100 entries, where with the paid version of Nebula or the Professional Pack, there's no limit to the number of entries. With the free Nebula, you get 5 admin accounts that can be assigned to any one organization, where with the Nebula Professional Pack, there is no limit to the number of admin accounts that you can add. So we're seeing here the same number of maximum SSIDs. You're both getting still the Wi-Fi DCS. There is no limit to the number of hardware pieces. So even with the free version of Nebula, you can have an unlimited number of customers and an unlimited number of devices for those customers being managed. Both versions, the free and the paid, still get you access to our phone support, email support, and our forum support, and there's no difference in the warranty that you get out of the box. NWA1123 series is all lifetime hardware warranty, as is all of the dedicated Nebula hardware is lifetime warranty. Now going forward later this year, we are going to start rolling out additional features that will only be available in Professional Pack. Primarily those are features that are aimed more at the MSP space. So we'll talk about those down the road when those become available. Since the roadmap's still, a little bit flexible here in the changes, I don't want to promise anything or when it's going to be coming, but later this year you will start seeing more and more features being rolled out that are only available on the Professional Pack. So the 1123s have traditionally competed head-to-head with Ubiquiti products, and that's not changing with NebulaFlex. So I do want to talk just briefly about some of the differences in our offering, NebulaFlex, and why you might want to use that instead of Ubiquiti. So I want to talk a little bit about Ubiquiti's management options when it comes to the cloud. So there's the unified hybrid cloud. So this requires that you have a additional piece of hardware at each site to do the management. It can be a PC running the Java management software, or it can be the unified cloud key that you have to buy and plug in on each site. And this basically gives you remote access to the cloud portal, which is very similar to just the local software, but now running through the cloud. They have the unified cloud controller. It requires you pay $200 per year to be able to use this, and this basically runs the cloud software in the cloud. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the last time I checked, if you're going to be using the cloud controller, you had to manually go into each device and point it to the cloud with a special key, so it knows where to register itself and which cloud instance is going to be managing it, something you don't have to do on our stuff. And then last year they rolled out the Elite service, which I believe has been temporarily suspended. The Elite service is much more similar to what Nebula offers, the free Nebula offers, but it does require a $20 a month subscription just to the Elite controller itself, and then each device requires that you buy an annual license. And in general, on average, the annual license for the Elite service for each piece of hardware is more than the price for the Nebula Professional Pack. So you're getting a software set or a feature set that's very similar to the free Nebula Cloud, but at a price that exceeds our Professional Pack. So advantages of us over Ubiquiti here, there's nothing that needs to be set up locally. There's nothing that needs to be manually configured on the device itself. It's all automatically done. Our True Cloud service, which is what I would call their Elite service, is free. All of our hardware has a lifetime warranty out of the box. Ubiquiti has got a 1-year warranty. Now, if you sign up and pay for their Elite service, they then give you a lifetime license, but there's nothing you need to pay or buy to be able to get lifetime license with us. Same goes for support. Ubiquiti support is done via web form primarily, where you get phone support Monday 8 through 5 if you pay for the Elite service. Our phone service is free whether you're paying for a Professional Pack or whether you're using the free service or whether you're using standalone. And I've shown you these slides in other presentations, but our hardware is a lot more heavy duty. If you ever come visit us at a trade show or we're coming out to visit you, ask us. We'll be happy to bring along some Ubiquiti hardware and our hardware and open them up for you so you can see exactly that the differences we're talking about aren't just hype. You can physically see and feel the difference between the hardware, and that's why we've been able to offer lifetime warranty for as long as we have and across all of our product line here, because it's really designed and built from the ground up to last out in the field. So again, if you're looking and want to try the NebulaFlex hardware, all you need is one of our NWA1123 series access points. You need to upgrade them. Just upgrade the firmware to 5.20 or above. And then after you've done the firmware upgrade, log back in and you'll see the new interface. So if you want to use Nebula, you don't actually have to do anything in the new GUI. You just simply log into nebula.zyxel.com and register the device there, and the AAP will start being able to be managed through the cloud. Very simple process. So I want to end it here with this slide here. If you're looking for some more help, if you aren't aware of this, in addition to our phone number, in addition to our online chat on our website, we do also have a dedicated business forum. This is primarily supposed to be used as being, users helping users like other vendors' forums, but our R&D and what we call CSO staff in Taiwan actually check these forums pretty regularly, and they will log in and respond to questions. So if you have something that's not immediate, using this forum is a good way to get some support. So we've put a post up there which has links to the firmware for all 3 devices. It has links to a video that walks you through the upgrade process and switching your 1123 over to Nebula and back. And then you can ask any questions, or if you have any problems, you can post them there. And then, of course, as a partner, you get access to our phone support from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific, which is 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, if you call in on the partner support line, which I've got there up on the screen. And then also just a friendly reminder, any NWA1123 series AP, as long as you register it in the Nebula Cloud, you get 3 free months of professional pack, as long as you do that before April 30th. So with that concludes our webinar. I'll go ahead and start taking a look here at the questions that people have sent in, and we'll do my best to answer them. If you're not going to stick around for that, or there aren't any questions there, I'd just like to thank you for joining us today and listening to us. You can always email and reach out to me if you have any questions or if you have any feedback on today's webinar, or you can reach out to your salesperson. They'll relay that to me as well. And we're always looking for ideas on future topics you'd like to see us cover. We'd like to do a lot more purpose-built, how to do this, how to do that type of webinars. So let us know what sort of information you'd like to see in a future webinar, and we'll see if we can get that added for you. So let's take a look here at our questions. We've got a few, and for some reason it's not letting me open them all the way. Give me just a sec. There we go. Will NebulaFlex be expanded to other Zyxel APs such as the NWA1123 series? No. At this point, NebulaFlex, there are no plans beyond the 1100 series. So if you're looking for, the flexibility of being able to switch between, it's the NWA1123 series. If you're primarily planning to use a dedicated controller, whether it's our NXC wireless LAN controllers or whether you're going to use like a USG or a UAG gateway, those have that built-in controller mode. If you're going to be using that, you still need to buy a NWA 5000 series or one of the WAC 6000 or 6500 series APs to be able to use those with the controllers. And if you know you're using Nebula Professional Pack, that you need those extra features that Professional Pack offers, I would suggest just going out and buying the dedicated NAP series access points, since those have 1 year of the Professional Pack included by default, and there's no additional extra licenses you'd need to buy or add in. It just simplifies the installation process. John Miller is noting that, yeah, he found that the APs do require a firmware update. So it's correct. You do right now need to upgrade the firmware. At some point later this year, the units will be coming with the firmware out of the box. We're also going to be adding QR codes to the box and QR codes to the back of the device, just like with the dedicated NAP APs. But that's still going to be a little bit of time here before we burn through the older inventory that's in the channel and sitting out there, both at our distribution warehouses and our warehouses, before the new models come in that have that firmware preloaded on them and have the QR codes added. But that will be coming later on this year. So let's see, what else do we have here? So for the Tim's asking about the NWA1123 AC. The original NWA1123 ACs cannot be upgraded to NebulaFlex. It's a different hardware platform than the V2, even though the feature set's exactly the same. So there are no plans for those older V1 units. But all of the NWA1123 AC V2s can be upgraded. All of the NWA1123 AC Pros and all of the HDs can be upgraded. If we've registered APs to our My Zyxel portal, do we need to release them from that portal to move them over to Nebula? No. That's independent of what's going on. Actually, the My Zyxel portal is actually tied into Nebula. So when you go to nebula.zyxel.com and log in, you're actually logging in with your My Zyxel portal login information, and those two are linked. So there should be, as far as I'm aware, there should be no need to unregister them there before you can register them in Nebula. It should be complementary. Can I say which switch series is being targeted for NebulaFlex? I believe it's just some newer models that are coming that haven't been announced yet. I don't think it's coming to the current ones, but we'll know a little bit more later on this year once that's all been settled. But I believe it's primarily just going to be some new switch models that we're going to be announcing later. Tim is asking, can you cover the differences between, and I think he's still typing something up. So let's give him a second to see what he's asking, and I'll do my best to answer them here. Okay, so asking about the differences between the AC HD, AC Pro, and the 1123 AC V2. So the AC V2 is going to be a 2x2 11 AC. The 1123 AC Pro is 3x3 11 AC. And then it's also got what we call the dual switchable antennas or dual configurable antennas. Basically, your traditional access point is designed to be mounted on a ceiling and then sort of radiate out your Wi-Fi signal in sort of an umbrella pattern. So the 1123 Pro still does that, but it also has a wall mount mode. So if you end up mounting it on a wall, you can switch the antenna pattern from the typical ceiling mount umbrella to a much more directional wall mount pattern that would be better in a wall mount scenario. So if you take a traditional ceiling mount AP and mount it on the wall, it works okay, but a huge chunk of the signal that you're sending out is being sent straight up into the ceiling or down into the concrete floor. So by being able to switch to a different antenna pattern that's designed for wall mount, you get a lot better coverage. And then the NWA1123 AC HD adds Wave 2 technology, so that's primarily from what most people are interested in is MIMO. It also adds some enhancements to beamforming that's not found in the standard Wave 1 11 AC stuff. So that's the HD. So the V2, standard ceiling mount 2x2, Pro 3x3 plus the ability to change the antenna pattern, and then the HD gives you the Wave 2 function set. It's 3x3 on the 5 gigahertz radio and 2x2 on the 2.4 gigahertz radio. And that seems to be all of our questions. I'll hang around here for another minute or so in case someone's busy typing away. But once again, thank you guys for joining us. Tim's asking, the HD does not have the antenna switch mode. It's only found on the Pro. So we've got another question here coming in from Tyler. Tyler's asking, do I know offhand, are the Nebula Cloud Security Gateways feature comparable to the USG series? And the answer to that is no. The NSGs are more of a, are designed to be simpler and easier to use. That's a big push in the cloud, is simplification. I want to almost call it an Apple type mentality as far as, you know, finding the key features that most people are using, making them easy to set up, easy to configure, and either burying or not offering some of the more advanced features. So that's kind of what's going on with the NSG. There is a big feature update planned this summer for the NSG that's going to add some more bandwidth rules that you can set up. It's going to add content filtering. It's going to add some other more security services, but there's always going to be a gap between what the USGs offer and what the NSGs offer, particularly when it comes to being able to create really advanced firewall rules or policies. The USG is always going to offer more. Now you can use the USG with Nebula, it's just you wouldn't be managing it with the Nebula interface. So that's also a common question we get, which is, well, you know, the customer's already got a Cisco gateway or, you know, whatever box they've gotten that their ISP has given them. That has no effect on Nebula. So you don't have to do an entire Nebula installation. You can mix and match. It's just you won't be able to manage the Nebula products or the non-Nebula products with the Nebula. So you would still, you know, in the case of a USG, you would still need to log into the USG directly to manage it. But the access points, Nebula access points and Nebula switches behind the USG will still work just fine. So I hope that answers your question there. We do see a lot of people who are doing more advanced installations using the USG as the gateway and then using Nebula for the switches and access points for the convenience there. Especially since, each site's only going to have one USG where, you could have dozens or hundreds of access points and dozens of switches. So the need for the cloud management is generally much more on the access points and switches than it is on your gateway products. Tim's also asking, can any of the 1123 units isolate guest networks without having to use VLANs? So all of our business wireless access points offer something called Layer 2 isolation. So it does not require the use of VLANs. It allows you to basically restrict what traffic or what devices can send data to your users on the guest network, and where those guest users can send their traffic. So generally what people do is you just add the MAC address of your gateway, and then those devices are only able to send and receive data that's coming through that gateway. So they lose all access to LAN resources. The nice flexible thing about this is, though, you can still add LAN resources. So let's say it's a guest network, but you want them to have access to the printer. So you can then add the printer's MAC address, and they will have the ability to send and receive data from that printer. Or maybe you've got a network share that you want your guests to be able to copy their PowerPoint presentations or their data sheets over to. So you can do that too. You just add that MAC address. So then those users that are on the guest SSID are only able to access those resources you've explicitly given them permission to. The rest of your corporate network, that traffic does not reach those guest users. And that's done on a per SSID basis. So you can still use the same access point for guest access and then use a different SSID for your employees, and they'll be able to have full access to everything on the local network. Hope that answers your questions. Again, I'll stick around here in case somebody's typing something up. But again, for those who have stuck around for this, I appreciate it. Give NebulaFlex a try. You've probably already got a compatible access point somewhere. Plug it in, upgrade the firmware, and test it out. And I'll just throw this in here too, that we do have a significant performance enhancement that's going to be coming here in a couple months to Nebula. So Nebula is going to get even faster, especially on larger deployments where you've got hundreds of users. The Nebula interface will be getting a lot faster here pretty soon. That looks like that's it, so I'll go ahead and end our webinar for today. Again, thanks for joining us. And let us know if there's any topics you want us to cover in the future. Let us know if there's any applications you'd like us to delve into, if there's any configuration help you need, where we can maybe put together a webinar on how to configure this or how to configure that. Give us those suggestions and we'll see what we can do to fill them for you. Thank you.